So we're carrying on with our series, Come Follow Me. And today we are looking at the topic of self-discipline. And of course, this is our first service in the season of Lent. And many people associate Lent with being a period of time to stay off chocolate in order to exercise self-discipline, and possibly only, in order to prepare for binge eating it come Easter. The practice of fasting at Lent arose in the church as a form of preparation, but not for eating a ton of chocolate, but instead for baptism at Easter. It was intended to be a reflection of Jesus' fast of 40 days in the desert, which was his way of preparing for the beginning of his ministry that would change the world. So, Lent is all about preparation, but what that might be preparation for and why we are preparing are clearly not the same for everyone. I wonder if any of you have seen the film Chocolat. A little reminder up there. I'll give you a synopsis without giving away too much, just in case you want to watch it. A woman and her daughter disrupt a tranquil Catholic village in France in the late 50s by opening a chocolate shop just as Lent begins. The characters are all challenge each other in their preconceived and firmly held beliefs, whatever they might be. We see the mayor of the village feel to lose his grip of control on the community as people break their Lenten fasts in favour of a taste of chocolate. On the other hand, Vianne, the owner of the chocolate shop, believes in being a wanderer and a free spirit, but is forced to reconsider because her daughter wants to settle and make lasting friendships. Did you know that there is also a Lent course written around this film? Some years ago now, I gathered a group of friends to watch the film, meet at my house and do the Bible studies from the book Christ and the Chocolaterie, if I've said that right. One of the themes of the course is a study of the motivations behind each of the characters that leads them to behave in the ways that they do. Because as we'll discuss, motivations are incredibly important. In case you're interested, the author has written a number of Lent courses based around films. Another book I have is this Spiritual Disciplines. Oh, I forgot to hold them up. Look, there's my first one. And there's my second one. There we go. Another book I have is this Spiritual Disciplines study guide, where one of the studies is entitled Time for Bed, and is about gaining discipline over bedtime so that an early waking and starting the day with God is a realistic possibility. Now, I have to confess that I have had a dislike of going to bed in good time ever since I was a child. I'm sure many of you can relate. The book on spiritual disciplines, as the design of the cover will indicate, is dated 1994. I remember delving into it with friends around that time, so I probably read this section back then. And I've heard about the benefit of getting to bed in good time from a spiritual perspective many times since then. I also know a lot about bedtime discipline from a health perspective too. In fact, I've positioned myself to be someone who not only does this myself, but advises others on the benefits of it and to share helpful strategies around this too. I've definitely made progress in this area over the years. But honestly, that feeling that I prefer not to go to bed yet is still something I need to actively work against. There are some lesser talked about strategies for how to break through to change and start something new. It's not just about knowing the benefits, though this is very powerful. For instance, when it gets to bedtime and I'm feeling reluctant to go to bed, the difficulty has probably started long before this point in the day. I understand that I need to do all the things that recruit my mind, body and spirit onto the case so that I feel tired at the right time and I feel a healthy satisfaction with my day so that I'm not still seeking a sense of fulfillment from my day at the beginning of the night. This must include finding spiritual fulfillment in God. These spirit, mind overlaps happen all the time. In the same way that I have a legitimate need for a sense of satisfaction with my day, which cannot be properly satiated by just one more episode on Netflix, I have a need to identify my God-given life purpose and feel that whatever I do is fulfilling that in some way. One of my God-given purposes in life is to be a wife and mother, and I have a responsibility towards the rest of my family to be well rested so that I'm not grouchy with them. In the same way, if I am anxiously on the go all day long with no reference to God, nor taking time to draw on his peace, it is unreasonable to suppose that I will be calm and ready for sleep at night without simply keeling over from exhaustion. Prayer and meditation throughout the day and the connection to the all-powerful and loving God which they enable are amongst the finest antidotes for the trouble I have had in regard to bedtime and how to discipline myself better. We are invited by Paul to consider the similarity between the physical body and spiritual life in our Bible reading. I do not run aimlessly, he says, or box beating the air, because he knows his purpose. In the time in which he wrote, winning a running race was awarded with the prize of a wreath. It would have been made up of olive branches and would eventually wither and spoil. He says, completing the race of the Christian life has purpose because of winning an imperishable wreath. The imperishable wreath is the rift between us and God, permanently and completely fixed. No more tears, no more sadness, no more war. Heaven and earth remade for us to enjoy with each other and with God, souls won for God to share in all that we gain access to. At the beginning of our reading from the New Testament, we see Paul giving us some reasons behind why he disciplines his body. His purpose is meeting people where they are at and serving them to develop their relationship with Christ. Serving those people well includes making himself subject to the same principles he shares with them. He does this through discipline of his body, not empty rule keeping. Instead, effort infused with purpose and meaning, striving towards everlasting goals which make sense of his being alive. Currently for us, let's highlight our opportunity to meaningfully serve people suffering the consequences of war all over the world, but especially now in Ukraine. Jonathan Triffitt helpfully shared some footage on the St Paul's Facebook page of Christians sheltering and worshipping. While we can and do care deeply for the plight of all Ukrainians of any faith or none, I think we can use things like that video to helpfully identify with people who are our brothers and sisters in Christ. In practical terms, too, we are surrounded by opportunities to support them. Christian Aid, for example, is one of many charities I'm sure we're all aware of. Various local organisations like schools are collecting clothing and basic supplies to send over. One novel idea I came across was to pay for an Airbnb in Ukraine, which obviously you won't make use of, but will help keep a Ukrainian business owner afloat through this devastating time. A resource I would recommend if you would like to explore this topic of God-given purpose further would be this book, The Purpose-Driven Life. In conclusion, and as my Chocolat Lent book says, Jesus did not prepare himself for ministry in order to make himself some sort of super spiritual being. He prepared himself for life among people, all sorts of people, being where they were, doing what they did, listening, talking, healing, challenging, risk-taking, absorbing all the criticisms thrown at him. Giving up is of limited value if it does not result in giving out.